So this is an IP subnet generator, and this is the david.kloss.us/subnetting website, which I love and use a lot. You can use any subnet, or if someone gives you a subnet that you would like to calculate, this is the process that I use. Now what I've put together is a little form that helps me keep track of what I'm doing, so that as far as the address that I'm given, I'm going to arrive at what that subnet is, what the network is of that, the first usable, last usable, broadcast, on and on and on. I've also put together a little cheat sheet that talks about the different octets and the positions and values, and that's going to help me calculate my IP address, my subnet, and what it's jumping by and where I'm at. So what I first do is I highlight the given from this website, go ahead and copy it, paste it into my form. Now this gives me some blanks in some odd places, so I just go ahead and delete those blanks to make this a little bit more neat and easier to read. And then I'll highlight the IP address that's given and copy that, paste it into the network area. Let's paste it, not copy it. And I'm going to calculate the subnet, which this is currently a /23. So when I look at my cheat sheet form, a /23 is into the third octet, and it's the 7th position in the third octet. So the 7th position here in the third octet means that my mask is going to be a 255.255.254 that you see there, and it's going to be jumping in 2s in the third octet. So I will come back to my form, put in the the subnet mask that I just described, 255.255.254.0, and it's going to be jumping by 2s in the third octet. And that helps me keep track of where I'm at. So what I can do is I can look at the IP address that was given to me. Here's the raw address that was given to me. I know that because I'm dealing with the third, that fourth octet's going to be 0 for the actual network. And then I take that 118 and divide it by the number that it's being jumped by. So I divide 118 by 2, and I've got my little calculator here, so I'm going to clear that out. Do 118 divided by 2 equals, and it's exactly 59, so that I know that the 137.153.118.0 is the network. If it was 59 and change, then I would know to get rid of the change and multiply 59 times 2 that it's jumping in, and that would tell me what the network is. In this case, what I'm going to do is copy that, paste it into the field for first usable, and in this case the first usable would be everything, and the last octet would be .1, which, by the way, since I know the actual network is the 137.153.118.0 and it's jumping by 2 in the third, my next subnet address is going to be the third octet plus 2 will be that next IP subnet. So I just say that it is the 118 plus 2 is 120, so the next IP subnet address is 137.153.120.0. Now I also know that I back that off by 1. Let me put this here, which is the actual network address, and the broadcast IP will be a last octet of 255, the third octet because it's jumping by 2, but to jump by 2 would be the new subnet, so it's 119. So my broadcast address is 137.153.119.255. Let's copy that, paste that into the last usable, and the last usable is going to be just one off of the broadcast so that it's a .254. So if we 137.153.119.254 is the last usable. The total number of IPs in this subnet is, what you do is you take 32 is the total number, you take 32, which is the total number of bits available in any subnet, and you subtract whatever CIDR you've got. So 32 minus 23, I believe, is 9. let's do that. 32 minus 23 equals 9. That's true. So you're going to do 2 to the 9th power, which gives you 512 IPs in this subnet. So we've got 512, and that's the total number of IPs, and we have to reduce the usable number of IPs by 2 because one is the network and one is the broadcast. So that means the usable number is 510. The IP class, this is a class B, and so the number of subnets is where you look at the number of borrowed bits and you do 2 to the power of however many borrowed bits you have. Now a class B is a /16. This is a 23. So let's do 23 minus 16, and that tells us that we have 7 borrowed bits. So we do 2 to the 7th power, gives us we have 128 subnets available in this mask. So let's scroll down here and see what we've got. So let's start with the subnet mask is a 255.255.254.0. The network address, the subnetwork address, is the 118.137.153.118.0. First usable is .1. And the the broadcast address is the 255, is the 119.255, and the last usable is 119.254. We have 512 IPs available with 510 usable, and 128 subnets are available in this. Alright, so we're going to do another example of the IP subnet problem generator and how we solve that. So we're starting with this given IP address, and we'll paste it into our form, our worksheet, and we're going to tidy it up. And then we'll copy just the IP address itself, paste it into our worksheet. We're going to look at the mask. We want to arrive at the subnet because that's going to tell us a variety of things. It's going to tell us what it's jumping by. We'll know it's a /16, but this is a B, so this is, and so this is classful, and so this is a 255.255.0.0. And what that means is that by 16 in the second octet, by being a 16 in the second octet, it's in the 16th position, which is 8th position over here of that octet, which means it's jumping by 1 in the second octet. So we're jumping by 1 in the second. And so we've got our subnet of 255.255. We're jumping by 1 in the second. So what that means we can do is we can just zero out the 3rd and 4th octet. And this, the 138.47.0.0, is the actual network. We copy that, paste that into our field for the first usable IP address. In this case, it's going to be a .1. And this being the network address of this, since it's jumping by ones, we know that the next IP address is going to be jumping by 1 in the second octet. So add 1 to 47, that makes it 48. That's the next IP subnet address. So this really is just going to go up to um, 255.255, and if we copy that and paste that, then we just back it off by 1, and 138.47.255.254 becomes the last usable IP address. The total number of IPs, we take 32 and subtract 16 in this case, because that's how many bits we use. So you take the 32 and you subtract the number of bits you've used. In this case we use 16, so 32 minus 16 is still 16. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 to the 16th power. Let's clear that. We've got 2 to the 16th power, and that gives us 65536 is the total number. 65536, 655, let's try that. And 2 less than that is the actual usable number, 34, because 1 is the network and 1 is the broadcast, and those are not usable. So that's the usable number of IPs. And how many subnets? It's a single subnet that's available in this network because we didn't borrow any bits. So let's scroll down and see what we've got. Sure enough, the mask is at 255.255.0.0. The IP network is 138.47.0.0 with .1 being the first usable. Then 255.255 and the last 2 octets for the broadcast, and 255.254 and the last 2 octets for the last usable IP. The 65536, 65534 for the total number of the usable, and then 138.48 is the next IP subnet. So there you go. Another example of the IP subnet problem generator. So I've copied the given that we have here, 56.153.82.146. It's a /14. Put that into my little worksheet over here. First thing we're going to do is look at it. 56 is an A, so it's an IP class A. And we're going to define the subnet mask. It's a /14. And when I look at my little cheat sheet that I've made, 14 is in the second octet, and it's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th position. So in the 6th position, the subnet mask would be a 252 in the second octet. So we've got a 255.252.0.0, and with the cheat sheet again, the 252 in the 6th position tells me it's jumping by 4, so it's jumping by 4s in the second octet, and I put that in, jumping by 4s in the second. And so now I know that I'm going to put this given here, and I'm going to, actually let's just highlight this, copy that, I'm going to paste, made a little bit of a mess of that, but here's the actual given IP address, and knowing that it's jumping by 4s in the second, I can zero out these last 2 octets, and take that 153 in the second octet and divide it by 4. So let's clear that. 153 divided by 4 means, so get rid of the decimal, so 38 times 4. 38 times 4 will give me the actual address, network address. So 152 is the actual network. So I'm going to copy that, paste that here just for easy reference. Then in this case it's a .1 is the first usable. And we know that 152 is the network address we're working with, but it's jumping by 4s in the second. So if I add 4 to this number of 152, I have the next IP network, IP subnetwork address. So 56.156.0.0 is the next IP subnetwork address, and so backing that off by 1 gives me, that's the first usable, let's paste in here. So 155.255.255 gives me my broadcast. and backing that off one gives me the last usable. The total number of IPs, what we do is we have 32 bits available in mask. We subtract the number that we've used, 32 minus 14. Let's clear this. 32 minus 14 gives us 18, so we want to do 2 to the 18th power, and that'll tell us how many 262144 total number of IPs available, but 2 less are usable because we have one of those is the network and one of those is broadcast, and those are not usable. So 262142 is how many usable we have, and how many subnets with this IP class and network. What we do is we look at how many bits have been borrowed. Now this is a class A, and class A in a classful way is an 8-bit class, so they've borrowed 6 bits. So we do 2 to the 6th power, and that tells us how many subnets within this mask and network. So we've got 64 subnets. So that's all of our calculations. Let's scroll down and see what we got. Sure enough, we have the mask of 255.252.0.0, the network address 56.152.0.0, with .1 being the first usable, and then sure enough the 56.155.255.255 is the broadcast. Last usable is one off of that, 2.254. 262144 is the total number of IPs, with 2 less than that being usable. The next network is 56.156.0.0. It is a Class A. We have 64 subnets available within this IP class and network. There you go.